I'm going to come along here very quickly, just make a short video, but I'm going to, of course, wait and see if anyone joins me. Pardon my appearance. Oh, Lord. I'm going to pay for this later on. But I'm going to just check here to make sure that if anyone joins in, I can actually see the chat. The first thing that I want to say is that the cover picture for this video is not necessarily related to the content. This is a disclaimer, just to let you know now. So I hope not to disappoint anyone, but if you do have any questions regarding that picture, then I can let you know what it is. And some of them are wooden stamps, so if that's what you saw, that's just part of my collection. Hi Vicky, thank you for being here. So let me see if I can see my chat here. Here we go. Okay, so I don't want to be looking down all the time, but I just wanted to come along and say hi very quickly, and also do just a very quick I don't know if I'll do a demonstration or not, but at least to give you some pointers if you are going to be taking advantage of this season to do some, yes, you did, to do some shopping for any crafty materials. A lot of us try to take advantage of the sales that come up during the holidays to stock up on different materials that we otherwise might not get. So, hi Robin, thank you for being here. I think the camera's over here. I never know. I don't know. I feel like I'm always looking off to the side, but what else is new? So yeah, Robin, you probably already know the topic at hand. It will be inks, but of course I will let you know some other little things that I'm working on. And don't mind the appearance. I've been, I guess, curating for Christmas is the phrase to use. So I've been moving things around the room and making sure it looks really cute for Christmas time. And it's surprising how many items you find that you think that perhaps you got rid of or that you forgot you had. So I think it's a great idea to do that. I got the idea from Jill Norwood, who is Greenwood Girl Crafts, I believe is the name of her channel here on YouTube. You probably all know who she is, even if you're rewatching the video, of course. So she has done this series which is curating for Christmas, and that's just kind of like a side note to lead into the conversation. And I thought it would be a wonderful idea to do that, and I didn't think that I would have any real collection to speak of anything, and I've been pleasantly surprised. Yes, Robin, all of us do. I mean, it's, you know, for me it's not about the stuff as much as I enjoy making all of it. Yeah, making a big mess is pretty much what it comes down to. Just sorting things and trying to put them all in order, and all of that gave me a perspective of how much planning you really do have to have in place if you want to make things in large quantities, something that I'm not good at. And I tend to make a little bit of this and a little bit of that. But what I did find was that, just to quickly show you guys, I had shared previously that I did some stamping and that sort of thing to have some, basically what I wanted to do was some card bases, or toppers is what they're called. So I had some of that, and so now what I can do is that I can just pop these on a folded card, and I'll have some little cards to give away, whether it be at the very last minute or that I can still send out, because I do believe even, you know, if they arrive a little bit late, to me that's of no consequence. But this is one, and I don't know if and on the cover of the video you may have seen this wooden stamp. So I thought that was very darling, and so that's an image there. And I wanted to bring this up because I want you to see the background there. This is, by the way, on watercolor paper. And if you like that background, that kind of muddled, inky background, then there are several ways in which you can do something like that. Here's another one, and I've shared these before. Thank you, Robin. I've shared these before, but you see that? This is a stamp that I do believe, yes, I'm pretty positive that I sold that one on Etsy. And this was an absolutely gorgeous stamp. And in fact, I stamped it more than once so that I can keep it in digital form. But let me tell you, this was blood, sweat, and tears because I traced over every single line on that stamp with a black ink pen. Okay? Because it was a wooden stamp and I got the image out of it, but it wasn't as crisp as I wanted it. But anyway, that's a whole different topic. I've shared these other cards, but I wanted to let you know that, for instance, if you are making a batch of cards or that sort of thing, it's great to do them starting in July, really. If that's something that you really want to ensure you have ready for December, that is the one piece of advice that I can give you, is to start at least your stamping in July, getting your coloring done and that sort of thing, maybe die cutting, and then at the end of it, you can just do it assembly line style if you want to. And that's where the little toppers like this come in for me. So if there's any piece of advice I could give you, it would be that. The other thing is, and the reason I brought up these images, because I have some other ones, but I've shown them before, as I mentioned already, is that when it comes to coloring and that sort of thing, the reason why I believe, for instance, that you like this image is because of the time and effort that I put into coloring that. This is not something that took me 5 minutes to do. I actually used different mediums on this, and I also finished it off with, let me think now. Yes, a multimedia medium, as it's called, that created a cover on this that's waterproof. So say someone wanted to hang this on a wall, even though this isn't technically, you know, a frame or anything, they could do so, and the image is not going to get ruined over time because it's protected now. And I figured, since it took me so long to color it, I may as well just go that extra mile and protect the image like that. So on here, I did use alcohol markers, I used inks, and I used more than one type of ink. I made the mistake of not writing down which ones particularly, but I just wanted to mention that because, again, going back to the topic at hand, which was the inks, there are several on the market, and not all of them are meant for the same purpose, nor do they work the same way. So if you're new to inking, to working with inks, you may have some questions, and I am here to answer them. So the first thing that I wanted to do, of course, was to show you those samples, show you the, for instance, the pulling that you see there in the background. Because again, this is watercolor paper, you can achieve that with different types of inks. One of them being, of course, the infamous or famous Distress ink from Tim Holtz. Now, Tim Holtz spent a lot of time creating these inks for us, and this one in particular is called Vintage Photo. It's one of his more famous ones. For years and years, people have been using that ink, and it's for a good reason. If you want to make something look old and grungy and that sort of thing, then this is the type of ink that you can use for any kind of project that you want to look distress, as it's called on the name, distress. However, you can also use this as a watercolor ink. If you just smush this on any surface that's glass, add water to it or a wet brush, then you can achieve different looks depending on what it is that you're coloring, whether it be watercolor paper, just regular cardstock, etc., etc. Yeah, I would say it's a cult favorite, as they call it. But then he came out with the Oxide version of his inks, and I have quite a few of these, and let me tell you, I've been using them for quite a long time. And I've been very happy with the results because you get vibrancy of pigmentation when you use them without, how would I explain it? You don't lose that vibrancy when you layer them. So that's a really nice thing that you can do. And then of course you can use it, as the name implies, as the oxide version of that ink, which means that if you put it on a background and you add water, it is water reactive, and you're going to get some translucency and things like that that are really fun. Yes, so Robin says she only has the oxides. If you don't have the regular distress inks, oxides are the way to go, because in my opinion, they're much brighter, and there's a really big color payoff with these inks. So I started off in this direction with the inks that I have in my room or studio, or whatever you want to call it. I also wanted to make sure that I could have bright stamped backgrounds, and let me show you. Let me see here, and I'm having to show you in black, but let me see here. I'm trying to make sure that you guys have a frame of reference here. But see, the issue that I have is a lot of projects I end up giving away. In any case, you want to be able to have inks that you can work with that will be water resistant once they're done. In that collection of inks, I have the Archival Inks. This is also produced by Ranger, and this particular color was designed by Wendy Vecchi. So if you like to have colors that you can use for layering that are going to work with different backgrounds and be permanent once you dry them, this is a really wonderful type of ink to go with, because once it's placed on your paper, it's not going to budge, and you're not going to get your background image just all over the place if you use another medium to color it. And I hope that makes sense. But this is, it says waterproof. So if you like to make flowers, for instance, and I'll give you an example. This is just a different color. So this is an instance in which I will use an ink like that, just to ink like the petals of a flower. And again, this just happens to be a different color. You can get different effects depending on how you apply them, of course, but, and I apologize that this is not the typical way that I show things, but yeah, maybe this isn't the best way to show you these things, and I apologize for that, but I just want to let you know you can use them on flowers and get yourself a nice inky edge or center or that sort of thing. And for that, if you've seen my videos where I've shown you other flower gatherings and things like that on top of a project, then you will have seen the flowers that I make, and 9 times out of 10 I'll use the archival ink on that. Another series of inks that's really fun to use that's similar to the archival, in my opinion, are the hybrid inks from Nuvo. These are wonderful as well. You get a nice color payoff, and they come in really beautiful colors that match the TonicStudios collections. The difference with this and the archival or the distress, for instance, is that, as you can see, they come in this cube form, and they sometimes do have them available in a larger pad that's similar to this, the StazOn, in size. But I've yet to find that Tonic, I've yet to see any re-inkers from Tonic. So that's the one thing to bear in mind. The others, Ranger products, come with or have re-inkers available. Okay, so when you're looking to, for instance, start a collection of inks, you want to bear in mind, are you going to be able to refill those ink pads, or are you going to be stuck later on with an ink pad that maybe goes dry and that's your favorite color and you have no way of refilling it? So that's just something to point out to you. The price point of these inks is going to vary depending on where you get them. I have a link below in the description bar of my video, of course, for scrapbook.com, where you can pick up certain oxides. The Nuvo ones you can pick up from Tonic. But when it comes to coloring images, let me show you this. Here is a sample of a card that I just finished, and if you see the background there, it looks as if I spilled coffee on that paper, and that was just done with ink. So I think that that's a lot of fun, because what I used, of course, let me show it like that. Maybe that's a better view. What I used was brown ink, distress ink, and then I let it pool on my table, and then added, of course, added a spritz of water. Sorry, that word is hard for me to say. And then just laid my paper right on top and allowed it to pool differently in different areas. And I wish I had more of these to show you, but I've since given it away. And I am working on some more projects with these dyes. But yeah, this look is really fun because it's that tea dye look or coffee dye look that a lot of us ladies like, depending on whether you like to journal or if you just like to have projects that have that more antique feel. You can do it with the inks. You do not have to dip your paper necessarily into coffee or tea, even though that's a lot of fun too. You can get the same look just by dripping your inks onto the paper or wetting your paper and then dipping it into the pool of ink as well. So hi Susie, I think, and thank you for the thumbs up. I truly appreciate it. I think you've been here one other time, if I'm not mistaken. So I appreciate you coming back. So yeah, so there's one style. Another sample that I can show you, and this is a card I did live, I think, was again with the, trying to think here. I'm almost positive that it was Archival ink. Nice bright payoff of color, okay? So just to give you another sample. Oh, wonderful. I thought I remembered your name. So if you see here those splats of color, or it looks like splatters of color, that was done with Archival ink. And you see the intensity of that. A lot of fun to use, and you get that bright color that looks just like it does on the cover, okay? So that's something that I wanted to mention. And to me, that's important. I can't stand it when I go to buy something and it's set, you know, the packaging online, especially now since we mostly have to do online shopping. You see a color and then you get it at home and it's completely different. That drives me bonkers. So for me, I really like it when it looks like what the packaging says it's going to look like. So I think that's really awesome. Oh, wonderful. You just got some art. Yeah, I think you're going to be very pleased. So another company that I wanted to mention, and I have no links, I'm not affiliated or anything like that, but I think is absolutely phenomenal, is Catherine Pooler. And let me just show you something. I just placed a tiny little order. I was missing one color. In fact, I wanted to try their brown because I didn't have it. And this one's called Icing on the Cake. Okay, as you can see, I just got it in the mail, so it's still packaged. And they do have a larger size. I just prefer mini inks for the only reason that I like to contain in one space as much as possible the inks that I own so that I don't run out of room so easily. And they come with re-inkers. So this time I did order the re-inker. And if you see this card that I mentioned before that I made with the oxides, you can do the same type of technique using a re-inker. So what you would do is, instead of, you know, blotting your ink onto your surface, which again, I recommend either glass or ceramic, you can use just a couple drops of the re-inker, add the water, and dip your paper into it, and you're going to get the same effect. The price point of Catherine Pooler inks is a little high compared to other inks, but let me tell you something. First of all, the intensity is the word I'm looking for. The intensity of the pigments is unlike anything else that I have in my stash. I here have a collection of them. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to move the camera so that you see what I'm referring to. And I'm just going to grab a piece of paper, which of course you would think that I would have that ready. Ay, ay, ay. Didn't have to go far. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. And I wanted to say hi quickly to Sam. It's Sam, right? So, and as far as watercolor paper, it depends on what I'm making, just to answer Robin. When it comes to, and that's a great question, by the way, when I'm going to make something like this, I did use watercolor paper for a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted to, thank you for being here, Sam. I wanted to saturate my paper with ink, but I also wanted to use a 3D embossing folder. Do you see that? Okay, and by the way, if you're interested, that is from Crafter's Companion. There's the packaging, and this is called Studded Leather. And I've been after that for a long time, and I finally found it. I think it was Veronica who told me that where she got hers, and so I went online and I think I grabbed it off of Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a 5x7 size, 3D embossing folder, and it is lush. So if you like to make your paper purses like I do and that sort of thing, that is such a beautiful texture. I wish you guys could feel this. But going back to your question, if you're going to emboss paper and you want it to retain the texture really nicely, I highly recommend watercolor paper. And Michaels will put out sales with the big notebooks of watercolor paper that are intended to be like journals and things like that. Thank you so much, Sam. And you can grab those when they're on sale. It's a great buy. Just rip out the paper as you need it, and then you can mist it with water. In this case, it was already wet because I had put the ink on it, and while it's still wet, then run it through your folder, and you're going to get a really beautiful indentation on that. So there's one recommendation. Back to Catherine Pooler, however, because I'm so impressed with this company. They sent me, and mind you, I mentioned I just bought the brown ink and the re-inker. They send a freebie almost I'm thinking every time you order. I don't know why, but I just wanted to show you. Ironically, here I am working with coffee, dyes, and stamps. Look at the little freebie. It's a little cup of coffee, and it says, take life one cup at a time, and then it has all those little tiny stamps there, and it came with the die. So, free with purchase. Phenomenal. Because who doesn't like a little surprise in the mail, right? And then over here are the collections that they have. So I'm just gonna, if you want to take a screenshot, there are the different collections, but of course, you know, you can go online and see what they are. They also provide, what is this? Okay, so they have, I guess, a membership program. So if you want to get stamps on a monthly basis, they have a $26.95 version and a $47.95 a month version. I do have Catherine Pooler. No, I take that back. I don't. Do I have stamps? I'm thinking of Anita Jerem. So no, I don't think I have their stamps. I don't know. I might come back and correct myself later. I have no idea. So yeah, this is, okay, so you can follow them on YouTube. So their paraphernalia is a lot of fun. It has all of the little colors, and then you can see the full-size product in their pictures, and the models are cute, of course. Who doesn't like that? But let me show you again, and hi Aretha, welcome. I'm going to try not to make y'all dizzy. I'm going to move the camera down for 1 second here. Just going to set some things aside because as I said before, I was working with some coffee related items. All right, hang on to your screens. Everybody do this. All right, I'm going to tilt you guys down so you see what I'm talking about. Okay, and there was something red a second ago. I don't know what that, oh, that's the a little bow over here, raffia bow. Okay, so I'm going to move my light so you guys see what I'm talking about. This is my collection, or part of it, of my Catherine Pooler inks. I like to keep it in here just because I happen to have this container. It's not necessarily the best. However, if you are going to get inks like this, I do recommend you keep them in a container, for the reason that the lid, if there was anything I would change if I could, would be that these don't snap, so they can slip off. All right. And I like to disclose those things, and you know, because I'm a consumer of these things and I like to know what I'm getting myself into before I make a purchase. But the color payoff of these is absolutely amazing, and I'm gonna show you what I mean. So let me go ahead and open the brown one, because this is the one that I just got in the mail today that I was referring to. And yes, they do have set, what do you call it? You can buy them in sets, or you can buy them individually, which is nice also. So if you only want to get a certain color palette, you can do that. So this one's called, again, Icing on the Cake. Okay, so we'll compare it to the Archival ink, which is called, in this case, Potting Soil. I'm just doing browns. And then we can compare it to Oxide. And I don't believe I have a dark brown Nouveau. Yeah, I don't think I do. I don't think I bothered with it, but I think you're gonna get what I'm saying. Now, this is regular paper. This is not watercolor paper, so that's gonna be a little bit different also. And I just want to show you, kind of swatch it out, I guess. Let me see if I have a cute stamp. Although that would involve cleaning a stamp, so I don't want to do that. All right, anyway, here's Distress Oxide. And by the way, if you don't already know this, you can do a wood technique. If you need a quick background, you can do that with your oxides, and that's a lot of fun. All right, so that's Vintage Photo. Let me do... I happen to have, Susie, to answer your question, I do have a couple of color sets, and I want to say that I got... I want to say that I got Life of the Party. I got Spring Fling, because that's all the pastels. These are gorgeous, by the way. I got, let me see here. Well, they have Carnival. They have Foundations, they have Luxe, and they have Date Night. So I know that I have one more of those. I just can't tell you right off the bat which one, because I can't recall. I took them out of their little packages, and they do come in a really nice little box where you can keep all of them. I just decided to do away with the box. But if you're short on space of where to keep them, you can definitely keep them in the original box, and that's nice also. So this one is Archival. Okay, and I'm just swatching, guys, as you can tell. This one is Nouveau. And again, I'm sorry that this is not the same brown, but it's just you know, just to show you how, and mind you, I've rubbed pretty hard on all of those to put that ink on there, okay? So we did the Oxide, we did Archival, we did Nouveau. Now let me show you the Catherine Pooler ink, okay? And I'm just going to barely touch this paper. All right? And there's still, I mean, I tried not to touch it too hard. But the reason I wanted to show you this is because you get what you pay for sometimes, but my friend Catherine over here is a generous gal. That's what I'm gonna say. You can get away in this industry, right? The crafty industry, you can get away with providing something like this, which, you know, I love this company, and providing the amount of ink that I was able to put on this paper, right? For the same price that you can get this for, okay? And this is without adding water. This paper is completely saturated. Now, you see the back? You can even see that, and my lighting's not even trying to show that off. The reason I wanted to show you this is because you can do the same techniques of watercolor coloring for your stamps with this type of ink. And the same thing that I mentioned before, where you can smush it on here and then use it. In fact, let me just go ahead and do that. Use a water brush. Okay, so here's my little water brush, right? and I can smush it on here, again, barely touching it, okay? And use my water brush, dip it in there, and then I can go very light. Now this water brush is probably not 100% clean, but this is just to stress my point here again, that you don't have to use it like this, that deep. You can use a nice little wash of it. And of course it's kind of puddling here because this is not watercolor paper. But if you do have watercolor paper, then you know what I mean, where you can just do a very light wash of the color and you're not committed to something so dark. And of course, if you want to extend, you know, blend this color on watercolor paper, it will blend a little versus, you know, this kind of cotton, just regular paper, I'm sorry. It's not going to, you know, there's not much blending that can happen there. But I just wanted to come along and share that because I believe in generosity of heart. And if I find something that helps me, and I can tell you that I have invested in this, I've invested in this, I've invested in this, and you know where I'm going with this, you know, in the long run, if you like watercolor inks, for me, this is very much worthwhile, especially since you can get the additional filler or whatever, re-inker, okay? Which, yes, you can do with Ranger inks. So if I had to compare it with anything else, yes, I would compare it with Ranger inks. But again, you saw the color payoff just by doing that tiny little swatch there. This is not the kind of stamp that you can, I'm sorry, this stamp pad is not something that you can use to stamp an image and then stamp on paper and get a crisp result. Whereas with this one, you can. And I hope I'm making myself clear. But yeah, if it's on your wish list, then I would say, I'm going to move this up now, that it's a worthwhile investment. Trying to keep my head on straight here, guys. Sorry. It's gonna move down, so maybe I should go. Anyway, if it's on your wish list, I would just say that it's very worthwhile. Sorry, guys. I have this on a stand here, and it betrays me. I'm gonna have to just shrink with y'all. Anyway, how about I just do this? It's very worthwhile. I like the results. I think it's a wonderful product. I'm not, you know, casting any shade, as they say, on any other company, because obviously here they are, and I've used them for years and not had any issues. My point was just that if you're in the market for something that you want to grab and you want to start out with something of value that's going to last you a long time and that you are able to use as a watercolor, then that's not a bad way to go. That's not to say that, you know, I recommend it for other types of coloring, but for watercolor, definitely. Because, let me see here. Yeah. I wanted to mention, if you don't know this, because most of you do, but if you'd like to have a black image, you know, for your stamping, VersaFine, of course, is a wonderful ink to have just for your images. You know, this is excellent, and I highly recommend it. However, if you're going to do alcohol markers, Memento Tuxedo Black is, for me, the way to go. And yes, you can get this in other colors also. That's a great question, Aretha. That's why I brought that up. If you're going to use alcohol markers, then I recommend Memento. The reason being that Memento is, and I'm going to read this off the back, this is a water-based ink. Okay. Let's see here. I think this has to be water-based. Let's check it out. want to make sure that I don't lie to you guys. I'm gonna just grab an alcohol marker really quickly. Okay, so yeah, you can use them with Copics, and for some reason my brain just blanked there for a second, but let me just show you here, okay? Because I tend to have to write it down, but if it's a water-based ink, let's see here. Let me go back to this. I don't want to say the wrong thing here, so bear with me one second. Okay, so this is a dye ink. So Memento works with Copics because it's a dye based ink, okay? And VersaFine works with watercolors because it is an oil-based ink. So if you're going to use alcohol markers, you want to have a dye-based ink. Now, having said that, here's the Catherine Puller ink, and I just did this with a Copic marker, and I don't see any bleed. So here's the ink, here's the marker, and I purposely pulled down on that to see, because if it was any other kind of ink, then it would have pulled down the color, and there's no pull on that. Okay? So, it might be a hybrid. I'm not sure. That would be really interesting to find out. But from what I can see there, you can use it with a Copic, and I'm looking at it and I don't see any issues whatsoever. Okay? And boy, I cannot believe how much the paper actually buckled because it got so saturated with ink. And look, it's not budging. It's not getting all over my fingers. Nothing like that. Okay? So, as I said before, this was going to be a quick video. And I'm sorry for tilting the camera again. As you can tell, this is what we go through here. And I think I'm out of light. I don't know. Anyway, I think I answered most of the questions that would be asked, but if you don't, if you can't think of anything now, feel free to leave it as a comment later on. I can always get back to you. But I hope that this has been helpful, and I realize that it sometimes can be daunting to see the materials that go into crafting and all of that, but having crafted for so long, one thing that I can impart is that sometimes it doesn't pay to get what is inexpensive at the moment. Sometimes you're better off getting the higher quality products because they're going to last you longer. You're going to get those results that you really like when you see the images, you know, that nice crisp image that you see on the internet and you're wondering, how did she do that? In the past, I would have done this with pencils, which is fine. It would have been a little bit of a different texture. In this case, I did use Copics, and I used, I think I used Catherine Puller inks also. I just use them as if they were watercolor. And they layer nicely. That's the other thing I wanted to mention. So if you like to use your Copics just for shading and things like that, and you only have 3 inks because those are your favorite colors, you can extend your, I'm going to call it wardrobe of coloring. You can extend it by only using a few inks because you can also mix them and that sort of thing too. And still get a good color payoff. So that is my announcement. That is my PSA for inks. And like I said before, I have links for, you know, scrapbook.com and that sort of thing, but that's of no importance to me. I just wanted to share what I've learned in the hopes that when you're crafting, it reduces, I guess, frustration if you're not seeing the results that you like. I love coloring and I love to share what I know for free. So I hope that it's been helpful. And if you did enjoy the content of this video, I do appreciate a thumbs up. You can share it with your friends. Follow me on Instagram if you'd like to. All the handles are always in the description bar of my video. And come back for more. and hopefully in the next one I can share more crafting. Of course, this just was more ink related. But yeah, I thank you guys for having been here. I think I only have 5 friends to say goodbye to. So I want to thank Aretha. I want to thank you, Sam, Susie, and also Vicky for having been here. And I hope I didn't miss anyone else, I don't think. Did I? Robin? But yeah, thank you so much for having been here. Be inspired and be blessed. And I'll see you in my next video. Ciao. I'm gonna find the X. You're welcome. Bye.